Hi everyone, and welcome to our weekly youth group update. Big announcement, Sunday night youth group is back. Starting August 22nd, we will be meeting on the basketball court at 5 p.m. every Sunday for a time of fellowship in Jesus. This month we're talking all about wisdom. Well, what is wisdom? Wisdom is finding out what you should do and doing it. So let's kick off our time together with a question. Have any of you been on a scavenger hunt before? Yeah, me too. Okay, but what about a treasure hunt, like for real treasure? And I'm not talking about digging through your granny's jewelry box and discovering vintage clip-ons or finding a $50 in your grandpa's junk drawer. I'm talking about discovering real, legit riches. Anybody? Yeah, I didn't think there would be too many of us. So a number of years ago, there was a man who came upon a staggering treasure accidentally. In the Philippines, this man was fishing off the coast of an island when he noticed a big white object stuck to his anchor in the water. The 75-pound mass was over 2 feet long, but the man managed to haul it into his boat. Whatever it was, the man thought it looked pretty cool, but he never told anybody about his find. He placed it under his bed where it sat for 10 years until his house ultimately burned down. Remarkably though, the big white treasure survived the fire and is actually on public display. Anybody know what this man found? This man stumbled upon the world's biggest natural pearl from a giant clam. How much do you think this giant pearl was valued at? It is estimated to be worth $100 million. It's really crazy to think he found an item of such value just by chance. In life, we likely won't find a valuable hunk of pearl attached to an anchor or a big bag of gold. Regardless, this story, it reminds me of the way a lot of us have found wisdom. So reflect back on your life. I would venture to say most of us have heard incredible words of wisdom from coaches, discerning teachers, sensible grandparents, or some YouTube sensation. Most of you were likely not seeking the wisdom. Instead, that pearl of wisdom stumbled into your life by happenstance. So is this how we're supposed to gain wisdom? Are we supposed to walk through life hoping to stumble upon wisdom with no idea of where it will come from or how it will be used? Well, what if there was another way? What if you could seek out more wisdom instead of waiting for wisdom to appear? Questions like this are important. When we have these sort of questions, it's good to start with the Bible. In the Bible, not only can we find all sorts of wisdom from some super wise people who had personal experiences with God, but we can also find out how we can be super wise people too. So let's head there now. It's Bible story time. Hit it, Kellen.
Okay, the star of our story today is King Solomon. Now, Solomon was the son of David, who was a very important king. Solomon had a front row seat to his father's reign and picked up a tip or two on what it meant to be a good king.
Tip number 1, always give away the full-size candy bars at Halloween. It's worth the extra price.
But Solomon didn't just get insight from watching his father. One night, God appeared to Solomon in a dream. Now, in the dream, the Lord said to Solomon, "Ask for anything you want me to give you."
Anything?
Solomon thought about what he would need to be a good ruler.
Lord, you've made me king, but I'm still very young. Give me a heart that understands. That way I can rule over your people. I can tell the difference between what is right and what is wrong.
What an incredible thing to ask for. Solomon could have asked for riches or power. He could have asked to be a foot taller or to live for 1,000 years. But instead, he asked for wisdom. The Lord was so pleased with Solomon's request, he promised to give him wisdom. And not only that, God told Solomon, I will give you what you have not asked for. I will give you wealth and honor. As long as you live, no other king will be as great as you are.
Wow, this is great. Somebody pinch me, I must be dreaming. Ah!
Solomon realized he had been dreaming, but it was much more than a dream. His wisdom was quickly put to the test. He was approached by two women.
My king!
My king!
My king!
My king!
Hey, my king! My king. This woman and I live in the same house, and she is insisting that this is hers.
It is mine. It looks just like me.
What does that?
Yes, it does.
Go
It's
by.
mine.
Hey! What are we arguing about?
An X-Station Playbox 10!
What?
Oh.
Pause for 1 second. Okay, so in the Bible, the two women are arguing over which one of them was the mother of a newborn baby, not a video game console. But the story gets kind of intense, which isn't necessarily the tone of the so-and-so show players. So
An X-Station Playbox 10.
Solomon was in a jam. How could he possibly know who the baby belonged to? The stakes were sky high. So Solomon took a pretty wild shot.
Bring me a sword.
What are you doing?
I'm going to cut the X-Station Playbox 10 in half. It's the only fair way to settle this. That way, you both have half.
Sounds good to me. Half is better than none.
Wait! If you cut it in half, it won't work.
I know, but I don't know what you want me to do.
Your Majesty, wait. Give her the X-Station Playbox 10. If you cut it in half, it'll be destroyed, and no one will get to enjoy the mix of next-gen graphics and high ultra processing power. She will have stolen it from me, but I care more about the X-Station Playbox 10's happiness than I do mine.
Right. It belongs to her.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That's not fair. It's not fair at all. No.
I did right by that baby. Yep. X-Station Playbox 10. What's next?
All right, let's think about how wild Solomon's suggestion was. He said to cut a baby in half. That's nuts. But he would have never hurt the child. It was a test. Solomon was thoughtful about the problem, and he was kind to the real mother who was in a bit of a bind, and he trusted God for wisdom. Those are the qualities you need as a follower of Jesus. You'll have hard decisions too, but when you listen to God and the wisdom of the people he puts in your life, more often than not, you'll make a good choice. I'll see you next time.
Thanks, Kellen.
The reason this story stands out to me is because we have a new king who could have asked God for anything. Instead of wasting the opportunity on a temporary treasure, Solomon asked for wisdom. During a dispute, we see how God's wisdom helped King Solomon. The king wasn't going to harm the baby, but he was wise enough to recognize the true mother of the baby. Because of the wisdom that God gave Solomon, the Israelites trusted that he was a wise king who would rule them justly. God made Solomon so wise that his understanding couldn't even be measured, like the sand on the seashores. The story reminds us where all wisdom comes from. God. If you're facing a tough decision, you can go to God and ask for wisdom like Solomon did. When you don't know what to do, talk to God. Our memory verse this month echoes this truth. It says, if any one of you needs wisdom, you should ask God for it. He will give it to you. Pearls of wisdom should not only be found accidentally stuck to the anchors of life. Wisdom should be sought from God. Wisdom can be found when we trust God. This week, I want you to think about this. Why do you need wisdom? Think about the different sorts of decisions you make throughout the day. Will you study for this test? Will you talk to that kid? How do you respond to that question? What do you say in that situation? How could wisdom help you in those sorts of situations? We can always go to God to ask for wisdom.